As Christians, we believe that God's timing is impeccable. Dr. Kevin Birdwell is both a Christian and climatologist. You have uncovered data that shows us that the Israelites arrived at the land of milk and honey at the perfect time. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, it certainly seems that way. In another video, we talked about what I call the Dead Sea rain gauge, which is the idea that because of the fact that the Dead Sea doesn't have an outlet to the sea, its water levels basically go up and down in long term based on whether there was drought or whether you had a wetter climate. And there was a massive drop in the Dead Sea levels prior to the Israelites' arrival in Canaan, which indicates that Canaan was undergoing significant drought. In fact, archaeology tells us that there was a climate improvement there after Abraham was in the land of Canaan, but before the Israelites arrived there. But then, still before the Israelites arrived there was a significant drought that probably weakened the Canaanites significantly. But then, and this is really from two sets of evidence, the Dead Sea levels, but also some research that was done in salt caves down in Mount Sedum, which is on the beyond the south end of the current Dead Sea. Basically, both of these evidences suggest that the water levels began to rise somewhere around 1440 BC, give or take. Well, we think that 1400 thereabouts is when the Israelites came into the land of Canaan. So what this is suggesting is that the climate improved just before the Israelites got there. So the Canaanites probably thought, this is wonderful, we're doing great with our crops and so on. But in essence, it would appear that God was actually preparing the land for the Israelites' arrival.
It's not for you, it's for them.
Right. So back in the day of Abraham, it really wasn't as much the land of milk and honey because of the drought that had been happening in his time. But by the time the Israelites arrived there, it really was. It had improved because the rising Dead Sea levels are basically telling you that you're getting a surplus of precipitation, which means your agriculture is going to do very well. And actually, this trend seems to continue in other biblical events. For example, you had a short-term drought in the time of Ruth, and you had another one in the time of David, another one in the time of Elijah. Well, what's interesting about those Dead Sea levels, and we would have to do more research to try to pin these down exactly, but there's a lot of short-term drops in the Dead Sea level, even though the overall trend is rising during the time of the judges and the kings and so on. And even when we take it out to the time of Christ, we find that there was a big rise in the Dead Sea levels leading up to the time of Christ that kind of peaked right when he was on earth. So, we know the society that Jesus lived in was very agriculturally based. And what this is basically telling us is that it was at a peak, an optimum, at the time Christ was here.